All right, guys, since basically the very first day that I got an ESP01 module, I've been using one of these little FTDI or FTDI knockoff boards to upload my programs to my ESP modules. And to do that, I went through a lot of phases of very DIY, just like just little wire things. And then eventually I built myself a little board. Looks terrible, and it has a little regulator on the back, some capacitors. It's pretty terrible, but it's worked for most of my purposes for a very long time. Just plug these guys together, put the ESP on top, push the buttons down to put it into boot flash mode, and there you go. But recently I was, feeling like this is a little bit of a tired little module that I made. It's worked really well for the past few years, but sometimes it doesn't work. The connection can be a little fiddly. So I decided to go and look online, and what I found were these little guys. These little USB, they have, the pinout directly for the ESP on it. You can just plug it right in, and there you go. And this is wonderful. But what I didn't realize about this, and I went and I bought this thinking it's for flashing, right? Not exactly. This is just a serial conversion. It's just a USB to serial to the ESP, and that's really all that's connected. The part that doesn't exist is the part that actually puts this into bootloader mode and lets you upload a program. So, after about 15 or 20 minutes of head scratching, making sure I had the right drivers for this. And what I didn't realize is that the makers of these little cheap boards, they're like $2, $3 a pop. They're really cheap. Is that it only has TX and RX and power. And that's all that's going to the board. So you don't have these little buttons that can drop it into bootloader mode, just the serial. And I decided to fix that. And the way that I've fixed that is, here's one that I did earlier. I basically put those two little buttons right on the bottom. I have read that people have connected up the CHPD or the reset pin, whichever one that is right there, and GPIO 0, and they've wired that up to the correct pinout on the chip, and it works automatically without having to push any buttons. But, I didn't really feel like looking up the pinout. If you want to, you're more than welcome to. But, my little hack is just to put a couple of little push buttons on the bottom. I'm already used to pushing them on this board, so, that's normal for me. So yeah, I wanted to show you guys how I put this little thing together. Really what it is here is it's just two little push buttons, and they're soldered together. They're kind of soldered one in line with the next, and one connects to GPIO 0, and the other connects to the reset pin. So the first thing that I'm doing here is I'm basically just taking some of these little tactile push buttons, and on both of them, I'm going to flatten out those legs, splay them out just like that. So that both of them, I will just flatten it out, and you'll notice that the legs come out on both on one side and both on the other side. And that's the way I'm flattening it out. I'm just taking it and bending them just like that. So now I have these two little buttons like that. And the first button, I'm going to take and solder onto ground, which I believe is referencing off of this one. Ground is this pin here, all the way on the front right corner here from the camera's point of view. The front right corner, and just skipping one over, and that is GPIO 0. So soldering those two pins to two of the little legs of the button will get me my GPIO 0 and ground connection. All right, so now I've got that button nicely connected on there. It's pretty solid on there. Both legs are well soldered. So something to think about with these little buttons is that the pins on opposite sides from each other, those are connected. So they're always connected. So this little guy here connected to 0 is also now connected to this little pin here. Same with the ground pin. So this pin here that I've soldered to ground is connected to this little guy right here. So what we can do is we don't need any connection to GPIO 0 anymore. We have that soldered up. So I'm just going to clip that right off, just like that, leaving this ground pin in place. So the next button that I have needs to connect from reset to ground. So I'm going to do exactly that. I'm going to stick these buttons right together, and now I have this little cross where the two pins on the button are kind of crossing over on each other. And I'm just going to solder that, make a little solder connection, and then we will connect the other side of the button, so this pin right here, and with just a little piece of wire, we'll just solder that back to the reset pin. And that should be all we have to do, and then we can test it out. All right, so there we go. I finished this up. I used a little piece of just magnet wire, just wire like this from, a speaker or a transformer. I've really recently fallen in love with using this stuff for any little tiny signal wires. Just a little thing needs to carry whatever, 3.3 volts, 5 volts. It can be a little bit of a pain, and you may have seen that. I had a little bit of trouble getting the enamel coating off and having it really solder in place, but gives you nice, neat little connections, and you don't have to worry about, having ribbon cable or some little thin wire that's, a pain in the ass anyway. So there you go. So now we just gotta, plug it into a computer and make sure that it actually works. All right, so here we go. I got it plugged into my computer through a little extension cable. And we can see reassuringly there's the little red light is on, so I haven't fried anything yet. So to put it into boot mode, I just basically rock from front to back, hitting the reset, holding both them down, and then releasing reset, and then releasing IO 0. And hopefully that put us into bootloader mode. And if I upload just a little demo program I have here, we should see it start blinking away. And there we go. I'm not sure if you guys can see that. There you go. So it's uploading onto the flash, and there we go. A nice, easy, little compact flasher. All right, guys. So if you like this video and you want to see more tutorials like this, definitely give a thumbs up down below and subscribe to the channel. And if you're feeling really awesome, you want to help me buy more of these and make more fun tutorials, go to patreon.com/itkindaworks. And if you're just looking for help, go to itkindaworks.com/forum. All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll see you all later.